Shall we turn our Bibles to 1 Thessalonians chapter 2? 1 Thessalonians chapter 2. We continue in verses 5 and 6. Now look at verse 5. Now Paul said this, "For neither at any time used we flattering words." Today's title is "Flattery Will Get You Everywhere." Flattery will get you everywhere. What are we to learn from these two verses today? Now first we want to learn, why do we flatter others? Why do we flatter others? Then the next part where he says, verse 5, where he says, nor a cloke of covetousness. God is witness. Then we want to learn now what we would become when we are covetous. What we would become when we are covetous. And of course, lastly, the spiritual lessons that we must learn from these two verses. Now let's begin with, why do we flatter others? Paul says, I do not do that. Now what is flatter? Flattery is a means of praising someone to gratify their vanity, right? Praise someone because you know that is what they like to hear. So you flatter. Now this phrase, flattery will get you everywhere. Now it's a idiom, playful, hyperbolic idiom, right? It means that paying someone nice compliments or giving them praise or excessive praise. Now it's an incredibly effective way to win them over, persuade them to do you a favor or get what you want. In other words, you will get reciprocation from the other person. When you make someone feel good about themselves, the natural instinct of the other person is, to return the praise, flattery. Hence, the world have this saying, flattery will get you everywhere. Everywhere. You can get anything when you flatter someone. Well, why do we flatter other people? The world is astute. The Christian must be even more discerning. Flattery will get you flattery in return. That is why people do it. The world is honest enough to admit it. Now, you notice that I started with verse 6 and not verse 5. Why? Why? Look at verses 5 and 6. For neither, now look at these conjunctions, neither. Then after that, verse 5 will have neither, then nor. Then verse 6, nor. These conjunctions are typically what they say, they are correlative conjunctions. They correlate, right? They may be different things, like here you say, flattery, then covetousness. Now, they seem to be different things. But in language, they will use neither, then nor, linking these seemingly unrelated words or things to actually a bigger context. That is why you would say neither nor. Otherwise, you say, we don't do this, we don't do this, we don't do this. Why use neither nor? There is a bigger context. Just like in the earlier verse 3. For our exhortation was not of deceit, nor of uncleanness, nor in guile. There is a context behind it, what the person is trying to address. Now, I started with verse 6, because the correlation of all this culminates in one key point, and that is found in verse 6. Nor of men sought we glory. Nor of men sought we glory. These flattering words, cloak of covetousness. Now, ultimately, the context is about seeking glory of men. Do you understand the argument here? that Paul is trying to put across. So I wanted to cover this ultimate point, seeking the glory of men, the driving force behind flattery and the cloak of covetousness. Paul says, neither this, nor that, nor this, nor that, leading to this. Ultimately, we did not seek the glory of men. So I wanted to make sure we understand this huge problem in our Christian life, seeking the glory of men, the pride that drives a lot of our behaviors. So like I say, even the world understands that. Flattery will get you everywhere. You want to be flattered in return, I will also give you that. See, ultimately, Christians, we flatter because we know that flattery can get us the glory that we seek. That is why we do that. Now, you know, sometimes parents, I read this, and parents say, I know you, the child says to the mother, Mom, your hair looks so nice today. And then the mom says, I know you said my hair looks amazing, but flattery will get you nowhere. You still have to clean your room, right? People understand that. They see through that. You want something. Now, if you are truly honest, we will admit, yes, we flatter because ultimately we hope to hear something in return about ourselves. Now, ask yourself, if you still don't agree, ask yourself this. Would you flatter a beggar? Would you flatter a beggar? Why not? Because we flatter people we want to impress. How many of you want to impress a beggar? Well, maybe we'll learn later. There might be something you want to impress a beggar. But by and large, you flatter people that you want them to think well of you. You flatter people who you want to impress. You want their validation. We seek their validation. We seek them praising and admiring us. Now, that is why we flatter someone. We are targeted in our flattery. With some people, we are impatient. You know what people say about morals, right? Morals. We are moral with people we don't like. You know what it means? It's a very true thing that the Lord constantly reminds us. The hypocrisy. We are moral with people we don't like. So when with people we don't like, we do what is right. We say what is right. But when with people that we want, their admiration, their praise, suddenly our moral drops. We will flatter shamelessly. Why? Why? Why are we so moral with people that we don't like? Because we don't care about what they think of us. So we're ready to, be as if we're so moral. Now that is what seeking glory of men does to us. And sadly, sometimes when we keep tasting the return of flattery, we will even flatter people we don't respect. Because we have become so desperate for praise, admiration, and validation, we will go even lower. So Paul says, I did not use any flattery because I was never interested in seeking glory from you. I was never interested in your validation, your praise of me, your admiration of me. I don't do or say anything to try and make you feel good, and in return, well, you will say nice things about me. And then my pride gets satisfied. Paul says, I do not do such things. Now, Christians, I keep reminding us about this series. Don't look at all this flattery, covetousness, pride, just in the church context. Because pride is simply in us. We are, as long as we harbor pride and don't deal with it, we carry it everywhere. And it is very often outside in the world, in school, at the workplace, in your homes, with your unbelieving friends, with your carnal Christian friends. That is where we must learn to control our pride. Especially when you come to a church where everybody is careful. You will automatically be careful. So, and I want to give examples then. Are we people that flatter others? having understood flattery, at the end of the day, is all about ourselves. Don't fool ourselves. I'm so nice. I want to give compliments. Very often it's laced with the desire for the glory of men. Examples. Now, we will flatter people in the very aspect we hope to gain flattery in return. That's typical. Children, the young ones, you go to school. Oh, you did so well for your exams. Oh, you did so well for that paper. What are you fishing for? You knew that you did well in that paper or the exams as well. So you say those things because you want them to ask, oh, what about you? Oh, right? Same for adults. Among friends, oh, wow, you're doing well in life. What are you fishing for? For them to ask you in return. What are you doing? If there are things that we are embarrassed about, that we cannot be proud of, we dare not ask about those things. Isn't it true? We praise, as family, praise other people's children. At the end is actually hoping, when are you going to ask about my child? When are you going to ask about this and that? Oh, you are so capable. Oh, you cook so well. Right? Waiting for the person to flatter us in return. Do you have such characteristics? You see, we can say, Pastor, I don't flatter people in church. It is not about that. Are you like that in the world? That is the question. Oh, you got a promotion. Oh, you must be so clever, so capable. But you got a promotion recently, so you want to be asked. Now, what else? When others return flattery, how will we behave? Well, we will want more. Pride is a bottomless pit. I've said that again and again. Or we will even blush. We will say, oh, that is nothing. Then we will say a few things in comparison, hoping they will ask more. Oh, you are better. You are better in this and that, right? Oh, I can't be compared to you. You're better. Very often, it's not enough. Oh, you cook that so well. Nothing, it's nothing. But in our heart, say more, right? They stopped there. And then we continue the conversation along the same vein. We fish for more. You see, it begins with that area, and then even when you receive praise, you want more. Someone said something about, well, you, and then you find yourself always hanging around the person, hoping to hear more praises. Students, you understand that, right? Adults, likewise. You somehow hang out with people more because you want those people's praise. You want to impress them. So you see, these are behaviors that Paul says, I do not do. Not in church, not anywhere. Let us search our hearts carefully. It begins with these little things. Now then there is this other area. Name dropping. You know name dropping? We often meet these kind of people at work or in life or even in churches. You link yourself to someone important, someone well-known, someone that you know others admire. So, that day, I was talking to this, or that day, this person. Now, at the end of the day, what you're fishing for is people to think, wow, you are in the inner circle, right? You're in the inner circle of people. Are you like that at work? You praise others. So you praise others in their absence, but to show others that you are part of these people that you praise. I see students do that often, right? When I was young, they want to be part of certain groups. And they know that these groups, they are the inner group, admired group. And then when they talk about, well, this group or these people. And then people know, oh, but you are part of that group, right? Oh, so you must be someone. Same for adults at work as well. People like to talk about how much time and how much air time they have with the big boss, and how good the big boss is. Ultimately, Christians, we are fishing for people to think, but you are part of that group. Especially when that group is unreachable, out of your league, but yet you're part of it. Especially when they are unreachable, it becomes more of a desire to let people know I am part of that group, right? So you see, pride makes us flatter. Every time you want to say something. Now, I'm not saying that we should not give compliments where they are due, but be very careful. You have to give reviews at work as you review employees, right? You have to write what they do well. But I hope we never do it because of flattery. So that's one. Flattery. What it is and why we flatter others. Because of our craving for the glory of men. That craving makes us people like that. Now then, why does he bring in the next thing? This part about nor a cloak of covetousness. We did not use a cloak of covetousness. Now here we want to learn what we will become when we are covetous. What we will become when we are covetous. Ultimately, you know what this covetousness is about. The linkage of the nor, and the last one is that nail. That final nail, which is seeking the glory of men. Now let's first look at what is a cloak. Now a cloak is literally for people, physically, what people wear, hooded, and then this long flowing thing that can wrap around their whole body, a cloak, right? That covers themselves. Loose, long, loose. You can hide a lot of things underneath, in other words. Now, figuratively, what it implies is it refers to something that covers and conceals, acts as a disguise, hides the true intentions underneath, a pretext, right? A mask of intentions. So this cloak. And then there is covetousness. You know what covetousness is? It is a strong desire, a strong passion to gratify yourself. You don't just covet something. It's not that thing so much. It's something that you want, to desire more of it, to satisfy self. Please don't think covetousness is just about money, just about material things. In the scriptures, it is used for just general passionate lust. General passionate lust as well. You will see the word being used together with other lusts, not material things alone. Now, so what it really means, the cloak of covetousness, you are covetous for the glory of men, the praise of admiration, praise, glory of men. It doesn't look so obvious. Paul says, we were never interested in seeking glory of men, hence we were never interested in pretending in anything that we say or do in order to get your praise, in order to get your validation, in order to make you feel or think of us in a certain way. No. Not interested in pride, and therefore never had such practice. Well, on the converse, it means that if you are interested in pride, you will put on a cloak of covetousness. That's why Paul linked these two things, or these three things. Why do you flatter? There is a cloak of covetousness, of getting flattery in return. So you say things that you do not really mean. Your main intention is to get praise. Now, I do not want you to lose sight of where I'm going. I'm not just telling you how to behave properly in the world. My point is this. As long as you have such behaviors and traits in you, you will carry it into your Christian life. That is the point. Do not forget, for the last few weeks, this is the key point. Don't examine your life in the light of church. Examine your life in the light of wherever you are, especially when not in church. Are you like that, students in school? Are you like that, adult at work? Are you like that at home, family members? Are you like that? If you're like that, I guarantee you, you will be like that in church. But you may be better at cloaking that in church. But it is there. That is the point I'm bringing across. So we need to watch our lives out there. If you don't, you know how to have a very thick, light-blocking cloak that no one can see. And you get very good at it. So it's for the sake of that I warn you, that I warn each one of us. Now, so we know what the cloak of covetousness is really coveting the glory of men, but you cannot make it too obvious. You're desiring that. Now then, let's look at some examples of what we would do. Before that, I want to make a statement. Now, the root of covetousness and flattery is really the greed to get the praise and admiration of men in different areas of our life. There is a root behind why we flatter and why we put on cloaks. Examples that we need to really examine ourselves about. Now, what will we become, right? The first, what we will be, there are two what we will become. The first, what we will become is this. We will become fake and insincere Christians. Fake and insincere Christians. That is why it's called a cloak. The cloak is concealing something. What people see is not what you are. That's why it's called men. When we are covetous for the glory of men, we become this, fake and insincere. We become opportunists to get glory. Ask yourself, are you like that? For example, you did something for someone, and it was just along the way. No big deal, along the way. And then suddenly, you got praised for it at work, right? Or you were just doing something for yourself, but it also benefited someone else. And then you got praised at work. Then suddenly, in your mind, it clicks. The cloak comes on very quickly. You're coveting the praise of men at work. Comes on very quickly. You're coveting the praise of men at work. That they would look at you, wow, such a kind person, such a caring person, such a thoughtful person, such a selfless person. Immediately, because you crave the glory of men, the cloak comes on very quickly. We will then begin to say, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I was thinking of that person. Yeah, I did this because I know the person needed it. Ask yourself, is that who you are typically since young? Have you dealt with it? I say again and again, we know how to behave in church. The question is this greed, this covetousness, to be thought well of, which is your glory. Is it a common thing in your life? Another, for example, is, well, we appear to be very benevolent, very kind, very gracious, but it was just something along the way. It did not cost us much. We did not go out of the way to do something for someone. Or worse, I'll come to that later. So it was actually no big deal. But the moment we find that there's an opportunity to make ourselves look nice before our colleagues, our bosses, our teachers, our classmates, we quickly begin to put on a cloak and say certain things. Search our hearts very carefully. Now then, so that is one thing. We become fake and insincere Christians, but it will not stop there. It's called a cloak of covetousness. Once you tasted being able to hide and then get what you want, you will want more. Pride is like that. I got away with that. And people actually, in my workplace, thinks that I'm such a kind person, such a generous person, such a selfless person, such a thoughtful person. And it didn't cost me much. Now then, the second thing we will become when we are covetous of the glory of men is, now we will then become shamelessly conniving people. Shamelessly conniving people. Just to get the praise and the admiration of men. We will be shameless, conniving people. Now, what is the difference? The first one is opportunistic. You did not scheme and plot. Conniving means you scheme, you plot, you manipulate situations to make yourself look good to others. It will progress to that. We move beyond opportunistic cloak to now a conniving cloak. We will begin to calculate whatever we do or say. We calculate. How will this make me look? How will this appear at work to my boss, to my colleagues, to my friends in school? You will carry it into church. You cannot run away from it. You behave like that this way in church, there you come in, you may know how to act better in church, that is all. But that is in the bottom line who you and I are still. Without even realizing, you will be, when you do something for God, you'll be thinking, wait, if I did it this way, or I say it this way, how will I look? How do I maximize the admiration of men? Examples. We become very good at humble bragging in testimonies. Humble bragging in testimonies. You know by now, right? Deacon Sujin has a standard phrase. Whenever he asks for testimonies, let us share with honest reasons and not to draw glory to ourselves. Standard, right? Something like that. He says it better than me. But standard. He reminds people. The thoughts will go very fast in our minds. How we say it, what we say. We can even begin to feel, I am saying this for the glory of God. But as long as we know in our hearts that we are not like Paul, we are really not interested. We better check our hearts very carefully. That is why I want to deal with those things outside. Once you deal with those things, you won't have a big problem in church. Now, what else? To get a position at work is no longer opportunistic. You begin to intentionally get close to your boss. Are you someone like that? When it comes to colleagues who you feel is not going to aid your cause in what you want to get for position, for glory at work, you treat them like that. But when it comes to people that have influence, especially the boss, suddenly you are a different person with them. You flatter them. Make them feel that they're so capable, so clever. But what you are coveting for is for them to think well of you, and then when the position is open, you will come to their minds. Examine all these kind of thoughts in our lives and be very honest. Students, are you especially nice to teachers? Why? Hopefully the teacher will praise you in class, give you hints for your exams. I had classmates who used to do that, right? They literally would buy things for the lecturers near exam times. Do you think these don't happen in church? When it comes to election time, right? This year is election year. Suddenly, church people who want to be elected suddenly does visitation, buys things, visits people, opportunistically, no, scheming. I happen to be passing by. You see what it will make us into? And let me ask you this, do you think God will ever use such a person? Deal with it. It begins in school, at work, at home. At home even, you can be opportunistic. Wife, you want to buy that expensive whatever it is. Handbag, shoes, piece of clothing. Because you covet the glory of putting on those things. You manipulate, you scheme, you lie. To convince your husband why you need it, right? Men, you want to buy that gadget because your friends have them. They talk about them. You feel that, well, without it, you are not rich or whatever. Then you convince, you connive, you plan, you scheme. If you are doing things like that at home, don't have a single doubt that God does not see. I want you to look at verse 5. God is witness. That is the awakening to us. God is witness. Why are you saying certain things to people? Why are you doing certain things? God is witness. God knows. And you think God will let you step into church and serve Him? Because God knows you will carry the same attitude, the same conniving mentality into church. And you will do things for yourself because you will experience getting positions, glory, praise. People think that you're very spiritual. You will carry it into church. I've said this over and over again. Last week, the whole message was about that. What happens when we do not covet the glory of men? God will use us. The opposite is true. Now, this is one thing that we can check, that we can check ourselves on to avoid becoming people like that. Now, are you someone who finds that it's never good, you are not good enough until you are the best and recognized as the best? Children, are you like that? You are already good in your studies, but it is not good enough. That's called covetousness. It's not good enough. I want more. And I am only happy when I am considered the best in school. Same for the working person. You know you're quite good. God allowed you to be able to do certain things well. But it is not good enough. You must be recognized as the best, the most liked, the most capable. When you are someone who feels that way, and sometimes when I notice that in your children, parents, you know I warn you. It's very obvious in your child. They're even walking out of the room, they must be first. Everything. And when they get the wrong answers in class, in Bible studies, they are not happy. When their memory verse is not 100, they are not happy. They are not good enough until they are best. Now, those are very dangerous traits. Adults, are you like that? When you walk into your workplace, when you walk into whatever, your home, you just must feel that people are all looking at you and say, there goes the best. As long as in your heart you feel that way about anything at all about your life, that I'm not the best, I'm not the richest, I'm not the best looking, I'm not the best in sports, I'm not the best. Christians, when you do not deal with those things, you can be very sure God is a witness. God knows. He will set you apart. Apart means don't use you, right? Not set you apart to use you. Now, so there's one check. I must be the best. Seen as the best, thought as the best, praised as the best. If not, my covetousness is not satisfied. You put on scheming, conniving cloak. Now, next one. Test ourselves. When you do not have what, in terms of possession or experiences, that others have, And especially if your experiences or possessions are not the best as well. So it's not so much as your personal as well. It's experiences. I was speaking with someone and then I began to realize where these changes in the Christian occur from social media. I don't use social media. I don't know what it is. I don't like to use it and I will stay away from it. So I don't know what it is about. I said, why are you on social media so often? The person said, initially I wasn't interested. But I need to use it for school projects. And then over time, I began to follow it. Students and adults. See if you're that. Then the person said, I began to look at how people dress. Because social media is that they present how they dress. And they want to be the best dressed, right? How they look. What they have, what experiences, what holidays they have, even what kind of Christians they are. And then this person say, comparison begins. I begin to be not happy with what I have, how I look, what experiences in life I have, holidays, friends, whatever it is. Social media is the window for Satan to pour in covetousness for the glory of men. It is a great culprit, all right? Because on social media, it's, look how good looking I am. Look at how much money I have. Look at where I ate lunch or dinner in. Look at where I traveled to. And this trait will carry into your Christian behavior, because it's a way of thinking. I must be the best and I must have the best experiences. Then it will carry into, when I walk into church, I just have to be the most spiritual. I just have to be the most knowledgeable. I just have to be the most admired, seen as the most useful. Whatever blanks you can fill for yourself. I need to feel that way. You will need to feel that way in church. If you're like that before you were saved, repent. If you remain like that after salvation, repent. Before you become useless to God, in such a state you are already useless. We say it again and again. Why was Paul so useful? Oh, by the way, do you care to be useful? You say, what a waste of time. 50 minutes, 40 minutes of this message so far is about being useful to God. Why do I care? Christian, if you think like that, especially elderlies, why do I care? I just want to live my elderly life on earth and just enjoy my life and wait till God brings me home. You have to check your salvation. There's no child of God that feels this way. I don't really care. It's impossible. It's as impossible as you look at your child and say, I really don't care about doing anything for you. I really don't care if you die or you don't care if you're sick. It's impossible. It's just as impossible for a saved child to say, I really don't care about all this. You know, I love flattery. After this, I'm still going to get my maximum feel of glory in return if I can. After this, I'm going to brag about my holidays to someone. Now back to this. So these are some checks that we should have. Every time you buy something, every time you want to do something, are you scheming, plotting? How will I look in church? How will I look at work? How will I look with my friends? You are craving glory of men. And when you begin to serve, it carries into your service. You cannot fight it. It will be there. Right? Now I hope that none of you come to church and analyze. That person bought this. Good idea. I will buy something even fleshier. The person wears this, or the person does that. I have to be one up. We spend our time conniving, scheming, strategizing how to be the best. Right? Now, what must we learn? Finally, and we'll close. What must... Oh, wait, one more thing. Now you become conniving in service. It's no more, by the way, someone says something, then you just take the glory. Now you become people that be very selective in what you do, who you mix with. Selective. To maximize what you can get in return. But I think I can speak more of it in what must I learn. So the third part, what must I learn? What must I learn? Two things. The first one. Now, seeking glory of men ends up in a very miserable life. A very miserable life. Why do I say that? Because it's clear in scriptures. You're always thinking about how to flatter people. I didn't get the flattery in return. Wait, let me go back and think. Next week, how should I say that? Then we are thinking in mind, we are going to have this conversation. These are the things I want to bring up. To flatter the person. Hopefully the person will flatter me in return. It's a life that is constantly thinking about things like that. And worse, the cloak of covetousness. Isn't it miserable? The cloak of covetousness. Constantly, never satisfied. Constantly needing validation, constantly needing praise. It's a very terrible, discontented life. Misery. Constantly worried about what people think of us, desiring them to think well of us. Now, it affects our life with our colleagues. It affects our relationships. It affects our fellowship in church. Every social media post we make or we go to, we are always comparing, figuring how to be better. It's a very miserable life because covetousness is a bottomless pit. It can never be satisfied. But so it's miserable because as long as you're someone who keeps feeling, I must be the best. I must be thought of the best at work, in school, at home, in church. I must be thought of the best. You are constantly unhappy. Instead of spending your time and thoughts about the Lord. The second thing, quickly. Well, your unhappiness is the smallest of your problems. Christianity is not about your unhappiness, right? Please understand that. Many people like to hear messages, oh, this will make me unhappy, so I will change. Please don't think like that. It is not about our unhappiness. This chapter 1 and chapter 2 is always about our witness on earth. We are saved to be witnesses, to be light, to be salt. Our biggest concern is if we are not used by God, if our testimony fails, we must be driven by that, not, I think I should change because, true, Pastor, you're right, I'm quite miserable. Don't change because of that. Now, the second lesson we must learn, therefore, is we will lose our testimony. If we are people who crave and covet after the glory of men and we begin to flatter and we begin to put on the cloak of covetousness, you will lose your testimony in the world. And you will lose it in church. Guaranteed. God will expose that cloak. Particularly because this church prays every week that God does. Right? And God has always done that without fail. The things that God does, to me, it always amazes me, but I should not be because He is the living God. Now, look at verse 6. Verse 5. For neither at any time, number one, learn this, not in any situation, not in any opportunity, never allow yourself to use flattery and cloak something that you did in covetousness, for glory, and just take credit for it. And even worse, scheme for it. Never, not at any time. Not at work, not in school, not at home, certainly not in church. Then he said, as ye know. As ye know. He's saying it's so clear to you. Christians, understand this. Flattery is very obvious to people, except yourself. People know that. They can smell that it's a flattery. And they know what you are trying to do. They get disgusted. That is why your testimony will be gone. You think and you constantly feel in heart, I think I'm getting somewhere with this flattery. Because flattery gets me everywhere. No, flattery gets you to all kinds of sin. It literally gets you everywhere in sin. You will lose your testimony because people will recognize it from a mile away. Parents, you know that when your child flatters you, you know that very quickly. People will begin to avoid you at work. They may interact with you, but they know who you are. Please understand, the cloak of covetousness are things that even the world have discernment enough to know it is fake. You are fake. Paul says, as ye know. Paul knows very clearly, people are not blind. People are not stupid. The ones that are blind and stupid are the ones, us, who crave glory so much it blinds us. We walk around and do things that everyone knows this person is trying to get attention from the boss, from the colleague, from the teacher. People know, right? Students, you have friends that are called teacher's pet. You know what that means, right? They know how to get close to the teacher. Some people, this is the boss's, whatever you call that, all right, inner circle. People, we begin to, become chummy with people. Suddenly we laugh a lot at their jokes. But people can see, you are so different from the other person. Suddenly with certain people, you are so chummy, laughing at everything, making them feel important. People will see through all this. Now, at the end of the day, I give you an example. It was amazing. My neighbor, right? My neighbor, the recent storm. So 3 branches were all over the neighborhood's driveway. And so my neighbor cleared up my driveway. He literally used a spade and everything. He raked and cleared. It was so clean, right? So I was so thankful. I texted him. He's an unbeliever. I've been trying to reach him. Unbeliever, Buddhist. And I said, Nick, thank you for clearing up my driveway. It's really very kind and gracious and thoughtful of you. Thanks. You know what was his reply? No opportunistic trying to take advantage of it. No scheming, no plan. He just simply says, if I don't clear yours, it will blow over to mine. That's it. Nothing to say, I'm actually quite a good neighbor, right? Nothing. If I don't clear yours, it blows over to mine, so I must well clear it. These are unbelievers. No plotting, no scheming, nothing. Nothing. So Christians, I hope that we do not shame God. I can tell you, people in church know. People in church, they know who are genuine and who are fake. They know. Why do you want to be so foolish? To be opportunist? To be scheming? Is pointless. You will lose your testimony. But the worst is God will stop using you. At work, they will mock at Christians. Flattery and covetousness It's very difficult to hide, especially when we crave glory of men. We have spent years in vanity and pride, not caring that our Lord was crucified for pride. Why do we want to continue in that? Shall we rise to sing our closing hymn? Shall we rise? 272. 272. Shall we rise? 272.